REO Speedwagon, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers here on 102.3 WHDL in Whitehall, Wisconsin. It's 11 o'clock. Time now for Open House with Hanson Real Estate Group.
It's time for the Open House on WHTL.
What are you, some kind of real estate agent?
You're joking, right? I don't joke about real estate.
With the Hanson Real Estate Group.
I never understood why people are so afraid to eat at an open house.
I know.
The Open House starts right now.
And it does, and this morning we get to welcome Jacob Lalamont into the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Good. This is 2 weeks in a row you and I have been able to visit.
Yes, sir. That it is.
Not bad. We appreciate you coming in, and it's always great to talk to the pros at Hanson Real Estate Group. Tell you what, it feels like hunting season, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. No doubt. The deer are definitely moving.
They are. Have you been out doing any hunting yet?
I have found my way out to the stand a couple times, so...
Well, it's going to be, I think, a good year. They certainly are out moving around. You got to be real careful when you're driving.
Yeah, without question.
And it isn't just the, there's bears and elk and everything around here.
Yeah, you always see on these different Facebook groups or whatever, some of that unique stuff moving around, and bears are obviously becoming more common, and kind of neat to see that elk herd making its way to our area here.
I know one of your coworkers, Josh, got himself a pretty good bear.
Yes, he did. He got himself a real nice bear.
Not bad. I know he was excited about that. Well, speaking of hunting, and of course that involves the being out in the country.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the difference between living in the country and living in the city.
That's right.
And, there's a lot to consider if you're thinking about moving to the country.
Yeah, no question, Mark. Obviously, you definitely get your peace and quiet. It's definitely really enjoyable, and a lot of people want for that or are looking at to do that, and definitely a great point. There's a lot of perks to living in the country, but there's certainly some extra costs to consider when you're looking at those homes. Maintaining some longer driveways at times, if you're heating a larger home or some outbuildings, those are added costs. And sometimes your services such as garbage or internet aren't necessarily as available as they would be in town.
Mm-hmm. And, that's something very important, especially if you work out of your home or you do a lot of work on the internet. You've got to consider that if you're moving out in the country. How's my connection going to be and how's my speed going to be?
Yeah, without question. I mean, that's something we've seen more and more get to be a topic of discussion as we look at these country properties, when there's more people working from home or relying on streaming services, whatever it may be, to connect to the world there. Internet in the rural properties has become a bigger issue.
Now, the other thing, you brought up that I found kind of interesting, we take a lot for granted when we live in town. We've got city water, city sewer, garbage pickup. And, we take all that for granted. But, when you're out in the country, it's not that easy. And one thing you brought up that caught my attention, and that's maintaining that driveway. Mine isn't terrible, and I've got a great neighbor who comes over with his huge snowblower and takes care of it for me. But, you drive down the highways or out in the country and you see some of these driveways that go uphill and are all windy.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that you have to take into account when you're budgeting for these properties, Mark. Obviously, if it's gravel and not blacktop there, you're going to have grading. You're going to need to buy gravel every so often. Even blacktop needs to be resealed every so often. And the big one that gets a lot of people is snow maintenance. Obviously, Mother Nature likes to throw her curveballs at us. We're unfortunately not too far away from that time of year. And whether you're buying equipment, a skid steer or tractor, maintaining it, putting gas in it yourself, I mean, that's definitely another expense. Or if you're hiring it done, either way, it's a regular expense in these winter months that you got to think about when buying these properties.
That's funny you talk about that, because I know when I'm driving around and, I'll look at a driveway and I'll tell my wife sometimes, boy, I'm glad I don't have to drive up that in the wintertime.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a huge topic. Certainly where I grew up in Wamedy with those hills there, it's something I always remember as a kid, Dad taking care of the driveway first thing in the morning. I mean, it's something you have to stay after, and there's added cost to that too.
Hey, maybe you just need to build a garage down at the bottom and then have a snowmobile there and just ride it up to the house.
There you go. I like that idea.
That's not a bad idea.
Not at all.
No, there you go. Well, okay, utilities and other basic services. There's differences that people should be prepared for?
Yeah. Yeah, without question, a big one obviously is majority of rural homes around here heat their properties off of propane. So obviously propane gas, it fluctuates in price throughout the year. So, it's smart to budget for that. And it's just something to plan for, A lot of people like to stay on keep fill, so that way they don't have to remember it. But if you're not on keep fill, you got to make sure you keep that tank full. I mean, you certainly don't want to have your property run out of heat in the winter months in Wisconsin here. So
That makes a lot of sense. And a lot of people use wood for natural heat as a supplement now if they're out in the country?
We see a mixture of both. There's certainly places that are propane only. There's some people that will have a little pellet stove or wood stove in their property. And, there's people with full-on large wood stoves. And, yeah, they can alternate between the two. So, definitely heating these rural properties, it's not just like living in town where you're hooked up to the natural gas and, you press a few buttons, you're good to go. It's definitely something that requires a little more regular maintenance and just some planning from a budgeting standpoint.
And garbage and trash pickup is something to consider too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, most of these rural communities don't really have a set service they offer. So, there's usually a town dump that you have to run to, whatever that may be. So just having a plan for that, taking the extra trips to the dump, knowing when that's open. And that's some of that stuff that, people kind of forget about when they get into the rush of looking at these country properties.
It's interesting when you live out in the country like that, communing with nature and the beauty of it all and the animals and the birds and the trees. It's all a great thing, but yet, we've come accustomed to our creature comforts, and you've got to take into consideration that's a little problematic out in the country.
Yeah, without question, Mark. I mean, there's definitely some different aspects to living in the country that, not that they're necessarily bad things, it's just the way it is.
They're different.
Right, exactly. And just being prepared for that is something that we definitely recommend, so you're ready for that time comes, both from a budget standpoint and just an overall maintenance work standpoint.
So overall, for buyers who are thinking about that dream property in the country, what's your best advice, Jacob?
Yeah, so I mean, going with your eyes open. I mean, there's a lot of factors to consider. Ask some questions. We're certainly here to help. Whatever questions you have, we'll help you find that information that you're looking for. So talk with your agent about your heating costs, your maintenance needs, stuff like that. Especially if it's not something that you've maybe lived in the country before, if you're new to it especially. I mean, there's a lot of factors to consider there, and I mean, a little bit of research up front helps you budget and avoid your surprises down the road. So
all right, we got some properties to talk about today.
Yeah, without question, Mark. We got some neat ones here. First one's on Lewis Valley Road in Arcadia. So if you are looking for a country property, this one fits the bill right here. We got a 3-bed, 2-bath home on 5.73 acres. It's got a large attached garage. It's got a separate detached garage that I think is just a neat place on the property there. Tons of storage space. There's been lots of updates made, and just a phenomenal view from that property, Mark.
I know that deck is impressive. I tell you, every time I see that, I'm like, oh my.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's certainly a neat property and listed at $525,000 right now. So.
That's a good buy.
No doubt. Yeah, so and then next one we have here is on County Road U in Wamedy. We got a 4-bed, 2-bath home. It's sitting on a large lot, and Wamedy's one of those towns where although you may be living in town, you still get that country feel, and it's pretty rare to have a property on the open market here compared to just a private sale where you might not get that chance at it. This one's up available, a lot of great recent updates, and it's listed at $189,900.
That's pretty good. And you're right. Wamedy is kind of that cross between living in the country and actually being in a town.
Yeah, without question. This one's kind of right on the edge of town, too, so you get even more of that country feel. It's certainly a neat property, Mark.
And a commercial industrial property in Mondovi.
Yep. So this would be the Gilmington gas station, up on auction right now. I mean, if you're looking to have a business in the country or in a smaller town here, this is a neat opportunity, right on Highway 88 there, so you won't have to worry about any road bans. If, you have something in your business that would be affected by that, you're good to go with this property. It could be flexed into a variety of different uses, and up on auction now, closing November 13th.
Wow, that's not bad. Not bad. And make sure you go and you can check that out online and even bid on it. And, of course, auctions are easy to work through. Just create an account at Hanson Real Estate Auction, and you're good to go.
You bet. Yeah, we're here to help.
All right. Well, Jacob, good to see you. Good information on the benefits of living out in the country. Appreciate it.
You bet. Always great to see you, Mark.
Good to see you, too. Who's in next,
I am not sure who we have in next here. It might be Jackie or Jamie here next.
We'll have to figure it out. Thank you, Jacob. Have a great day. Appreciate it. Good luck hunting this fall.
Thank you, Mark. Have a great day.
Jacob Lalamont, Hanson Real Estate Group, one of the pros. Give him a call. They'll be more than happy to work you through any issues you've got if you got property to list or you want to buy a property or an auction. Hanson Real Estate Group, hregroup.com.
For far too long, seed discount offers have been too complicated. But today, the Seed Pros of Channel make our stand. No more confusion.